Okay, good evening and welcome everyone to our third Neptune Talk. Today I am a bit excited because Professor Morhange is a reference in my geoarchaeological research. So thank you so much, Christophe, for accepting our invitation. If you agree, before starting, I would like to share my monitor for a minute because I would like to take this opportunity to remind that the call for our third workshop is open. It is our first in-person meeting and will be held in Naples the 27th and 28th of September. The important date are the 13th of May, that is the deadline for the abstract submission and the grant application, and the 10th of July, that is the deadline for the workshop inscription. This workshop is free of charge, but it is necessary to fill our online form to attend the workshop. I sincerely hope to meet all of you in person in Naples, finally. Okay, now it's time I stop my sharing, and it's time to give the floor to Martin, who will introduce the today's lecture. Martin, please.
Yeah, thanks, Gaia. I have the honor to introduce Christophe Morhange for giving this talk today in our audience. Christophe is a geomorphologist with interest in sea level change and coastal environments in general. He's a full professor for physical geography at Aix-Marseille University in France. Between 2009 and 2014, he was the head of the French RNA project investigating the Holocene shorelines of the Nile Delta and the islands of Malta, in collaboration with archaeologists, biologists, and palynologists. During the past 10 years, he has moved his research beyond Mediterranean coastal areas, including the Oman Sea, the Red and the Black Sea. His main objective is to better understand the environmental evolution of ancient harbors, a theme that he initiated 30 years ago. His research tools include relative sea level indicators like bioindicators on rocky and clastic coasts, sedimentology, geoarchaeology, and underwater geomorphology. Presently, he is involved in 2 geoarchaeological projects. The first one at the Great Pyramids close to Cairo to find its ancient harbors, and the harbors and the surroundings of Venice. So, Chris, we're happy to have you here, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. You hear me? Yes? It's
yes,
okay.
But
okay.
You can share your monitor, please.
The monitor is you can see the first slide?
No. Please share your monitor because I stopped your.
Okay. It's good like this?
Now it's working.
Okay. Good evening. So I'm professor in Aix-Marseille University, but also in Ecole Pratique des Hautes Etudes in Paris. It's a new job, and it's important. So I'm honored to give this lecture that I have prepared with pleasure concerning geoarchaeology of coastal hazards, and I had a subtitle, The Question of Neocatastrophism and Vulnerabilities, and I will try to deal mainly on high energy impacts. So the question of storm versus tsunami impacts, mainly along the Mediterranean shoreline. So the first point I want to say in introduction, that when we speak about neocatastrophism, it's a philosophical trend that insists on catastrophe. And I have in the last years tried to solve this question of high energy impact along the shoreline. And sometimes I was misunderstood. And in my mind, and really I feel high energy impact are absolutely important and can be very destructive. Like, for example, this document given to me a few years ago by Giuseppe Mastronuzzi concerning the tsunami of early 20th century in Messina in Italy, with, you see, more than 10,000 people die and a maximum run-up of 13 meters. So there is no discussion. High energy impact tsunami can be very destructive along the shoreline when you see these images about 1 century ago. And from an historical point, for example, the Lisbon earthquake in connection with the Azores earthquake of 1755 and the tsunami induced and the big fire of Lisbon was a cultural shock for European thinker, philosopher during the 18th century in France, in Italy, in Germany, in England, fighting and trying to interpret this huge destruction of the capital of the Kingdom of Portugal. And there were two schools. One school was thinking it was something in connection with the religion, and one school was more realistic and pragmatic in connection with geoscience. So there is a long story of connection between cultural history, high energy impact, and coastal geomorphology. For example, in 1755, if you look at the compilation of Poirier, you can see from different journals in Europe that the number of casualties varies from, I think it's the journal from Hamburg, 5,000 people killed, up to more than 100,000 killed in Berlin journal or Gazette de Berne in Schweiz. So there were still a very big uncertainty about the impact. The second point of my introduction is the use of this very nice painting from Kanagawa, which the name of this painting is Under the Wave, but offshore Kanagawa from Okusai 2 centuries ago, with 3 boats. And it is usually used as the symbol of a tsunami wave, as a beautiful logo, but it's a storm wave, of course, it's offshore. Huh? You have never this kind of waves due to tsunami offshore. You will find them at the proximity of the coast. So the point of the introduction for everybody, I know most of you are aware of it. What is a tsunami? There is 3 elements which are important, and my approach will be actualist, c'est-à-dire to try to find first analogues, present-day analogues of tsunami impacts, and after to try to decipher the signal in the paleo record. So tsunami waves are characterized by high wavelength, long period, and high propagation velocity, very rapid waves. This is the 3 main elements. And the most important element is when these waves are, like the storm waves, are close to the coast, there is a question of rugosity and a question of evacuation of energy. It's what is explaining that there is a so important run-up and a rise of the waves, especially along a very plastic and very small slope and not deep coast. The second point or third point, which is important, is the question of the energy. The energy of tsunami waves is usually distributed along the whole water column. Of course, there is a lot of an important typology in connection with the hydraulics. So there is different type of tsunami waves. That most of them, the energy is distributed along the whole water column. And by comparison, as you know, the wind waves in connection with the swell and the wind rose and wind direction, it's the deformation of the surface of the ocean and not of the complete water column. So I began to show you a few images that most of you probably know about the impact of different tsunami. One tsunami was very important and has a lot of importance in geoarchaeology. It's first of all the tsunami of Sumatra, Boxing Day 2004, with this image provided by James Goff from England. You can see the importance of the immersed part of the coasts, and there is more than 100,000 people killed, a lot of tourists, and it shocked a lot the present day societies. And there is before and after the Sumatra event. For example, in coastal geoarchaeology, tsunami impacts were completely ignored before this event. And after 2004, you have a real tsunami of tsunami publication, which is very interesting because it's really the present that is shaping our research interests. A second point in connection with the tsunami is it's easy to find, not easy, but when you have a tropical forest like here, you can measure quite precisely the run-up of the waves and the limit of the destruction. And in the sedimentary record, you have usually this nice succession when you drill, or when better you work on a complete stratigraphy of a buried soil, a sedimentary input of marine origin, a buried soil, etc., which can be sometimes well dated. So three main questions are connecting. The first question is how to interpret these deposits. What the level of energy? First question. The question of the chronology of the frequency, which is absolutely important in order to try to compete with this question of vulnerability, and the origin of this perturbation. And by using biogeological proxy, as we will see in a minute with different examples in the paleo record, we can analyze, for example, in the present context, tsunami sand, burying an organic soil, continental soil. You're using different methods in connection mainly with geoscience, so stratigraphy, sedimentology, coarse versus small particle, paleoecology indicator, a mixture of different bioindicators, and in archaeological context, archaeological level of destruction, as we will see in a minute with the Istanbul case studies. Thanks to the team of Andreas Voigt in Germany, there were a lot of work that had been done in a precise way, dealing with megablock and hurricanes, cyclones impact in tropical island of Bonaire, for example. And here you can see a very nice block of coral origin transported from the mid-tidal zone up to the supratidal zone, and it's a big example of the possibility of reworking mega blocks by cyclone and hurricanes. And the team tried to decipher two sedimentological signature in connection in blue with hurricane ridge and tsunami ridge. And they were able to produce a table, a methodological table with poly variables like the size, the roundness, the weight, the altitude, the distance to the coastline. And in the case of Bonaire, I think this work was very efficient. But unfortunately, our planet is absolutely, there is so huge variability of settings and sedimentary environment that a methodology in Bonaire is not applicable in another site. So it's locally very efficient and globally not really useful. And the last point concerning the present day sedimentary impact I want to insist of was the